Entertainment Plus presents Pete the Surfaroo.
Coming up on Pete the Surfaroo, renovation tips on the Renaroos.
Guys, and welcome back to the Renaroos. Got a very important one for you guys out there, especially all those renovators, new or old. We've got Mr. Don Pitt here, mate. How are you?
Thanks, Pete. Thank you for having us.
Now, mate, QBM. What's that for?
Quality Building Management. We're experts at asbestos and building management, as in property inspections and so on, in every type of property.
Okay, now over the next few episodes, we're going to be covering all the stages of asbestos, how you get in there, check it out, sample it, and then put on your little sexy outfit.
Yeah, need to by legislation. We've got to take precautions because, look, asbestos kills people and we do this all the time, so we don't want to be a statistic.
Now, mate, about legislation. Tell us a bit about that.
Look, we're doing a house today, residential property, so there's no real legislation that says you have to do it unless you're doing renovation. So, look, I don't want to bore everyone, but there is work health and safety legislation out there that came into force last year. Requires every commercial building or the buildings that use as a workplace, so that could be part of a domestic house, that's constructed prior to 2004 to have an asbestos audit. Today, though, this is a residential property. So unless we're doing renovations, but we are, so if you know renovations, no asbestos audit required. We are renovating, therefore you do need to identify asbestos in the property before you disturb it. But that applies not only to tradespeople, it applies to you, the handyman, as well. So if you're going to do any type of work around your home, make sure it's not asbestos first. The problem here then is that those fibres can float around the atmosphere for many, many months. The youngest known cases of mesothelioma is a 3-year-old girl that died from mesothelioma from parents renovating a house. But there's many instances of 16-year-old children dying of mesothelioma, which is an asbestos disease, from people renovating their own homes. So it's critical that we identify all the asbestos first, and then we get professionals in to take that asbestos down before they start their renovations.
Sounds good, mate. Now, our first episode, what are we going to be doing?
Today, first off, we're going to identify the asbestos, or what is assumed to be asbestos. So we'll check walls, ceilings, downpipes, roofs, meter boards and things like that, and around the garden to see what could be containing asbestos in the property.
Mate, sounds good. Viewers, let's get into it.
The trusty ladder, we can't go anywhere without and can't do the job without the ladder. So what we're going to do is look around the outside first, and there's many areas that could be containing asbestos. So it's not only sheeting that we have to worry about. We've got meter boards, downpipes, roofing and things like that. So what we're going to do is walk around the outside of the house now. I'll get my folder and we'll start documenting suspect materials. So I'll just grab my folder. So what we're going to do is have a look around the outside here. You can see that most of the walls here is brick. So we just have a look at the walls here. It's all brick. So there's no, if it's solid brick, there's no asbestos in it. But in the old days we used cladding that was a face brick, but behind that face brick was actually a AC sheeting. But this is solid brick here. So I've just noticed here a downpipe. So if we have a look at this downpipe here, easy way of doing it is if you tap it, and hopefully you can hear this, almost sounds like glass. The old material is extremely hard and very high asbestos content in it. So this is the suspect material. We will be taking a sample of this later on. So I'll just document that now, that it's the downpipe, the right hand side of the building. In the report we actually take photos so that it's very easy for people to identify what is asbestos. But what I've just identified, we're going to have a look at the bottom of the downpipe here. There's a crack in it, and I'm just going to see if there's exposed edges there. As you can see here, this bottom of this downpipe's been cut out here, possibly because it's been blocked up underneath the ground here, and this is allowing for an overflow. Trouble is now there's exposed edges here, and you can see the exposed edges of the downpipe, and there's high likelihood of fibre release here. So immediately we need to seal all of these edges here, because we can get exposed asbestos fibres from this. So that'll be my first recommendation before any renovations take place. One of the more highly likely items in an older property is the meter board. Now we've just had a look at the meter board here, and you can see the black backing on it. It's most likely that that's a xylemite type material, which is a pitch or tar based material with a high concentration of asbestos in it. Also in meter boards there could be old black switches, and inside the larger fuses there could also be insulation material, a little blanket made out of asbestos material. So it's critical we check these meter boards. Now what we just identified now, and we've just taken photos of, is the possibility that there's sophetes, there's sheeting, asbestos cement sheeting to the sophetes and the gutters. Now we're just going to show you a quick look at those now, and we now will document those, and we've taken a photo of the sophetes and down the gutters. What we've just checked there is the ceiling of the patio from above to make sure that's not sheeting, but it turns out it's actually concrete. But what we also need to check is the paint. Now the texture paint also contained asbestos. This is clear, smooth paint, therefore there's no possibility of asbestos at this point in time. So it's critical we check everywhere. Now just walking over here, I'm going to show you some things that are in the edge of the garden path here. There's actually some broken sheeting. Okay, so what we've just identified here is some broken sheeting. Now this was used as an edge to this concrete path or paving path here. Now, fairly old, and I'd like to show you the dippling effect on the back of the sheeting here. It's been wet, and it's quite safe now for me to handle it without doning the seat, because I'm not cutting or breaking it. I'm just picking up a small piece with my pliers, and I'm going to put that in a plastic bag, and that is the sample that we will be taking to the laboratory to analyse it. So it's critical we look everywhere, not just inside and look for walls and ceiling sheeting. So I'll just show you now the dippling effect on the sheeting. Now these laboratory bags that you put a sample in, they have to be 200 microns in thickness in the new legislation. So what we do is put it in this single bag now, and then we will put it into a larger bag, so it's double bagged, each 200 microns in thickness. That's just to ensure in the transport process there's no breakage and we don't get asbestos fibre release. What we've just checked here is an old water pit. There's been a lot of information on the news now, and problems with the NBN rollout with Telstra pits. These Telstra pits and sometimes water pits were made out of asbestos sheeting. Now Hardy's was a great manufacturer in Australia. Unfortunately the product they used wasn't too good, the asbestos, because it kills people, but they made thousands upon thousands of items out of these products. And cable pits and water pits were one of those items. So we just need to check to see that this was not asbestos cement sheeting, but it's actually concrete. But it's critical that you check. And that brings me to a point of, who do you get to do these audits? Anybody? What I recommend is you get someone who actually knows what they're doing. Unfortunately, even though there's this new legislation in Australia concerning health and safety, there is no specific licence required to do asbestos audits. So what you need to do is find someone reputable and has long-term experience in the industry. The regulations say that they must have experience in the industry and know what asbestos is contained in. Because there's over 3,000 products, you need years of experience to be doing this. So that's the recommendation. Get someone who actually knows what they're doing, and please make sure they have insurances to make sure that you're covered if they miss something. Now what we've just checked there is the fence line. It looks like a new fence on the right hand side of the property, therefore it could have been an old asbestos cement sheeting, so it's critical that we identify if there's any broken pieces of sheeting still left in the ground. And in the rear corner we actually identified some sheeting there, so we'll come back and take a sample of that once I dress up, because I'm going to have to, it's only large piece, I'm going to have to take a small piece from it, and I'll show you how we actually take a sample in a moment. But it's critical you check all areas of the property. Now we've just checked the drainage pipes on the left hand side of the property here, and they're all PVC. So if you have a look at the photos there, you can see they're white, and we can tell by the size of them and the shape and the feel and texture of it that it is actually PVC, which is non-containing asbestos material. Now, due to the age of the property, and we can tell that it's possibly 60s, early 70s construction, from the types of material used, we've identified already that we've got asbestos or possible asbestos downpipes and gutters. Therefore the roof is highly likely asbestos. So we just have a look at the roof there, and you can see from the filming there that it's pretty black and it's a corrugated type material. Now we'll take a sample to prove it, but due to the age of the property, this corrugated sheeting will contain asbestos. Now when it's black like this, it's actually in a pretty good condition. Maybe not aesthetically, but for safety it is. With all that mould and everything, it's actually bonding in the asbestos fibre, so they're not being released. The problem with asbestos roofs though is that when we get a hailstorm, it really deteriorates very quickly, and it's like a sandblasting action on the asbestos material, and it releases fibre down into the downpipes, down through the gutters and so on, into the neighbour's yard and everything else. And that's where asbestos roofs are becoming very dangerous, because they are deteriorating with age. Now, continuing with the outside of the building, we've just come upstairs and had a look at the front patio ceiling, and it looks like it's possibly asbestos cement sheeting, so we will be taking a sample of this. So I've just got up on the ladder and had a quick look, and noticed that it's a V-joint sheeting, and we will be taking a sample of this. So what we've done now is we've just checked all the internal walls of the building, and how we do that is tapping, and we actually dug our knife in, a Stanley knife, into the wall. Because asbestos cement sheeting is actually hard. I've managed to dig my knife into the walls, and it turns out it's gyprock. Now I've just shown you where a tile's been lifted off the wall in the kitchen, and gyprock is a chalk type material covered in paper, and I've just lifted a bit of paper off to show you, so it's not an asbestos type of material. Now, as you can see from the bathroom and toilet area here, all the walls are tiled, so we can't take a sample or actually check to see that it's asbestos cement sheeting. But asbestos was used because it's indestructible. That means even from water. Therefore, in this type of construction at this age, they most likely would have used asbestos cement sheeting behind the wall tiles. Now, because we can't sample it and prove that, we have to assume that it is. So when they do the renovations here, they'll take precautions and assume that the walls do contain asbestos. Hot water cabinets and hot water lines, asbestos was used as lagging to keep the pipes hot. There's none in here, but what we have identified on the shelves is some vinyl sheeting, and then underneath that vinyl sheeting is some asbestos cement sheeting. So we'll take a sample of the sheeting to make sure it's asbestos or not, but the vinyl as well. So vinyl floor coverings actually had a backing material that contained a high level of asbestos. So we need to check in all properties any vinyl sheeting and vinyl tiles. Conducting an asbestos audit takes years of experience to do it, and it's an art form in some respect. We identify materials using our experience. One of those telltales, I suppose, of asbestos cement sheeting is sound. So as you can hear here, when I tap the sheeting here above the linen cupboard, it's almost like it's glass, very hard material. But when I tap the wall over here, it sounds soft. So the wall is actually gyprock. Now, that means it's no asbestos containing in the material, but the harder material is quite likely that it contains asbestos. And we now will take a sample from that material based upon the hardness and the sound.